All right, I think this is my mic. It seems to be registering. So good to see you guys all again after such a short period of time. Move chat to the right. We can move chat to the right. Let me do that. It's not a new setup, it's a different computer. I haven't done a critique in a while, so this stuff is all. Gotta move these things around. Let's move this over here. Voila. Okay. All right. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you guys got some sleep or had a productive day, or it's the end of your day, depending on where you are in the world. I went to bed a little after we left Val's stream. So I stayed up and kind of browsed the internet for a bit. Watched the replay a little bit just to catch up on some items in stream. I saw that my daughter Kelsey was in stream towards the end. She cracked on my drawing, my inking, but so I missed out on that. And then, of course, I wake up at 6:30 in the morning for no reason whatsoever after 5 hours of sleep. So I don't know. Something wrong with my internal clock. So, all right, here's what we're going to do. We've got this person's artwork. Let me pull up the person's name. It's Lunmann, Lunmann, and he or she sent me 4 pages, and I thought they were quite good actually. But the things I'm seeing in the art that could be improved, I see in a number of portfolios that are sort of submitted to me. So I felt here was an opportunity to sort of share some thoughts about figure construction that might benefit a lot of people, because I think these are common issues, things I even grapple with. Unsurprisingly, really, there's just a lot that goes into any sort of drawing. And I want to address something that came up in the stream last night that I didn't see, but I saw in the replay, which was, oh, you guys can hear me, right? Can someone confirm that they can hear me? The audio is not good though. I just realized the headset I'm wearing is muted, so it's coming from. Is the audio good? I don't need to fix it. I've got so many devices. Okay, loud and clear. Fine. Okay, I take the headsets off then. Great. That's much more comfortable for me. But I've got so many devices, cameras, and stuff. I feel like, I'm under surveillance. But I've got so many devices here. I don't know which device is actually pulling in audio or not. But so anyway, in the stream last night, the question was, hey, how do you know when you're done with a piece? And a lot of artists will tell you, you just know, or I think that's probably the most common answer. But then I thought of a different answer, and I don't know if this helps or not, or if it's just as zen-like or obtuse, which is as I'm drawing a piece, think of it as, a checklist, right? So when you draw, you're continually creating to-do items, okay, that are rolling out in front of you. And as you do them, you check them off, and you're constantly scrolling down this list. Okay, so if I'm drawing something, okay, let's say I start with the basic construction, then I go, okay, I'm gonna throw a light source here. So instantly, a sort of a mental checkbox is created, What's going on with the video? I see that as well. I don't know what's causing that. Maybe it's, hold on a second. I don't think I have a way of changing the refresh rate. That might be an issue. I do see it, so hold on. Let me see if there's a way to address that. It's a little tricky because I have to mirror. Okay. I have to mirror the displays. That looks better. Yes? Great. So I can't see. It's hard. I don't have a lot of real estate to work with. That's what I'm saying. Okay, let me see if I can. Okay. So you make this mental checklist. Then you go like, okay, I'm going to add rain. So I create that checklist. If I add rain, then I got to add splatter. So that a new box gets created. If I add splatter, then I want to have, or if I have rain, I'm thinking of a lightning strike. So that's another checklist. It's worse now. There. Okay. I know what's causing it. It's basically when I have a bunch of windows open if I move them in certain positions on the screen. So I think I can really only look at chat or the portfolio. Let me turn on this other tablet here. Or you know what? I'll follow chat on my phone. Oh, the kids are just messing with the dog. It's normal. So let me just open up Twitch here on my phone, guys. Magnetic flux density. You sound surprised. What? He was able to find someone and procreate? What? Okay. Here we are. All right. So as you make this, so it's a constant adding onto this checklist. And at some point in the checklist, you start going, fix this correction, fix that correction. And soon you're seeing your checklist is almost all magnetic flux density. Bro, I'd marry you 11 times over. All right. Sounds good. All right, Joe. I'm happy there's not a camera on my face. Hold on a second. I gotta close the door. It's already a warm day here. Whew. Anyway, so I find that once I've done with the checklist, then that's kind of like once I've checked in all the items on the checklist, then I know I'm done. And that sounds kind of obvious, right? When I'm basically saying you make a list of things, and once you do those things, you're done, right? But the things that get added to that list are instinctual kind of elements that pop into your head as you're drawing. So the drawing is stimulating the idea for the next thing that you need to do. So meaning if I draw like a bunch of buildings, go like, oh, I want to add windows. Boom, it's added to the checklist. If my thought is not to add windows, that's an instinctual kind of decision informed by my style and what I want to do with this piece that's kind of inside me that I can't quite articulate or get out of my head, right? But if you kind of listen to that kind of internal monologue that says, okay, now do this, okay, now add that, or now do this, like you saw your favorite artist do in that one pinup 15 years ago that this kind of reminds you of, that's kind of what's happening, right? And so that's one way of kind of thinking about it, right? Because once you get towards the end of that list, it's about corrections, it's about fine-tuning line work, it's about fixing mistakes, and then ultimately, like, where am I going to put my signature, right? Okay, anyway. Jared Bobach, what's up, dude? Nice to see you. I'm not going to be calling out subs and stuff until kind of later because I only have literally one window open that I can look at. And so it's just a little more complex on this very small Cintiq. At some point, I should probably upgrade it and get the nicer one, but this is fairly old. The newer one has more real estate, and it's high def. Okay. So this is page 4. So let's go to page 1. So that's page 1, right? And please tell me like if things aren't in the right position, because I'm really I can't even see OBS. My window is just full of Photoshop. And what sounded so easy, Kirihiko? You mean the mental checklist to figure out when you're done? Yeah, just it should be flowing continuously. Think of it like a scrolling like to-do list. It's like, oh, I got to add. All right, so as you're drawing, like let's say hair, you're going, okay, don't forget to put a highlight in the center of this part. Boom, done. Oh, if I add a highlight there, I should add a highlight on the side of the temple. Boom, that's on the checklist. You do that. Once you do that, you go like, oh, I got to add a highlight on the shoulder to be consistent. Boom, that's added, and you do it. And then once you do that, you go like, oh, too many highlights. Okay, redraw the attention towards the center of the face. Okay, maybe I'll add background elements that kind of point towards that area compositionally. Boom, that's on the checklist. So you're continually thinking about what you're doing, and what you're doing informs what you need to do next. And then eventually you'll reach a point where what kind of pops in your head is, oh, I got to fix this. I have to correct that. And that's kind of when you know you're towards the end of the piece. We all know where this checklist story is going. I don't know. Where does it go? Wildstorm CCG. Okay, so Lunatic, thank you for subscribing. I can see the... appreciate that. D. Carlson 160 also has subscribed for 9 months. Thanks for continuing to stream. Constant inspiration, influence. Thank you very much for the kind words. I appreciate it. Good to see a lot of you guys back up. I'm glad we're all kind of in sync with our schedules here at this point. Checklist 1. Draw face. Item 2. Sign and send to editor. Item 3. Sell for money. Item 4. Rinse and repeat. Yeah, that's pretty much it, Superhero Swimmer, right? You got it. You nailed it. I see where we're going. Spiky Summer, thank you for the contribution, the cheer, the bits. All right, so this is actually a really good page. I thought I'm not crazy about down here. Okay, it would be good if I got into the right tool here. All right, these over here, these panels are, I feel like they needlessly go to a weird angle when everything else is pretty much straight up and down, right? Traditional 3-tier up and down. If you're gonna, hold on a second. If you're gonna go and create diagonal shapes like that, there should be a reason why, and I feel like the reason why was I couldn't fit in the panels, and so I kind of squeezed them in. And and I'm not a big fan of this line and this line being parallel. I think it kind of is very meta. It takes you out of the story that you notice that the panel border is in perspective to the actual perspective lines of the next panel itself. It calls attention to itself. I feel like you could take these panels and have made them smaller inset panels, right? I think you could have done this a little, it just would have been a little bit smaller, and then you could have done these two people meeting like that. If you had to, if you wanted to. Nexus has subscribed using Twitch Prime. Twitch Prime has a great benefit of being an Amazon Prime member. I kind of just barged in because I was kind of running a little late, and I was just trying to get this Mac set up. It's all done on my iMac, up and running. And I just want to acknowledge we've got Kate, one of our amazing mods, in the house. And we have, I think, Crispy Egg Roll. Yeah, we have Crispy Egg Roll here. And Run Elephant. We have the trio, man. It's great. It's great. It's amazing. So I think everything's good. I'm also not a huge fan of that kind of action. I feel like if I go over a panel border, I want it to be like a spear that's kind of coming right at us, like almost like a 3D effect, or a hand that's coming at us that's pointing at something or punching out of the panel. I feel like when a hand kind of dangles over a panel like that, I question like what else should be dangling over that panel? Why isn't it? And it just looks like there's a hand dangling over a panel into the next panel. So I think those are, and especially for submissions, I would just leave that stuff out. I don't think you need to do it. It doesn't add anything. Yeah, I know it's a nice little gestural touch, but you could have probably also have done it in the panel above by just moving these figures up. I mean, there's a fair amount of dead space here and here. It really wouldn't have been too difficult, I think, to lay it out so that let's see if we can do this. And in fact, I think the negative space is served better by having these figures a little bit larger. I like having large figures in a panel. All right, I like. Whoa. Let's see. Maybe not that large. Something like that. And then I would probably even have done it where maybe move it up a little bit to kind of maximize. And then you could have done the same. But I get it. You want to show off the background, so maybe that's not the best. Got to balance it out. So let's go back to the way we had it a second ago. Sorry. And do this. Right, something like that. Change of space. And I guess this will be the benefit of working digitally. And maybe that's something that, to learn the fastest, maybe you work digitally so that you can learn by making these kind of adjustments and seeing like the changes, both pro and con, right? So now, the panel board is here. I would cut off the hand. You know, there's a thing that they're leaning against. You still have a fair amount in the background there. All right. I think also for the sake of yeah, I realize that Kataki K. Thank you for your helpful tip. Um, I think the point is not to make it look perfect. I just want to quickly just show you what I'm talking about. But thank you anyway. All right, so and then in the next panel, just be mindful that this is a very Kim Jong-ji kind of thing, that each of your figures, okay, kind of occupies, a cylinder. She's leaning back, but her cylinder is like this. Her cylinder is like that. And as such, with the cylinders that way, I feel like this figure in particular would be more like this. It's a tricky thing to do, which is figures in a down perspective to one another, right? And if you look at him, if you look at Batman, okay, if you look at Batman, or Bruce Wayne here, you see how kind of large his head and his torso is there, right? And how relatively small her bodies. I think they're not in perspective to one another. And again, the way you get better at this is through repetition, right? So and then also, I don't know if I would have this person down here. It's kind of a non sequitur. It's a person that's kind of cropped funny in the corner. So I think if you're really going to go, and let's see, let's expand here. Let's go ahead and spend a little bit of time here. Working this out. Okay. Start with your central figure. Oops. And actually, most of the sort of notes I have on the figure work would all be, I think, helped or resolved by doing this kind of construction, right? So after you draw it, or before you draw it, right? You figure out, okay, it's foreshortened, so that neck, you're not gonna see much of the neck. Right, there's the chest. There's the pelvis. Leg. Okay. All right. For this, she's looking the gal to the left. She's looking straight up in the air, probably a little too exaggerated. So where's the vanishing point? I think it's here, right? Right, it's down this way. It's down there. Okay, so it's down there. So I feel like her head would be back, but maybe not as much. I don't think we necessarily have to see it. I think you're forcing the face looking towards us because you want to show us that expression, but really it's probably better served looking towards him, even though it's looking up like that, right? And then that hand would come down here. You know that the hand exists over here. Her left arm exists there, so you drew it, but it's probably hidden behind that head, given the perspective. If that makes sense, right? And then there's a bit of a waist, and then I think the hips would be not as wide because it's all foreshortened. And again, we're seeing more of the top part of the foot at the bottom because we're looking down. Right? It's like when you draw like a down headshot. Here are the ears, here's the nose. Most people want to draw the eyes and the mouth and everything because you know it's there, but the truth is, from the very, very top, you might just see that. Or if you're looking up at a head, you might just see the nose, a little bit of the chin, and then the neckline. See what I'm saying? Like if this character is looking up. But a lot of people know sort of cognitively, or they just know that the mouth and eyes are there, so they try to draw them in somehow. So you know that this arm is there, so you drew the arm. And because you know that face is there, you're drawing the face. But the truth is, it's probably right there, even if she's like tilting her head back. So what I'm saying is maybe the neck is snapped a little bit in the original layout, right? And maybe this elbow actually kicks out a little bit before it comes back down to rest on her hip. Okay? I'll also say in terms of body language, and it could very well be like, all right, I don't mean to be like completely biased, sexist, whatever. But this female character has her legs, further than the shoulder distance apart. It's like she's in a superhero pose. She's in a mini dress. She is flirting with Bruce, I presume. Most people that are wearing a dress at a cocktail party, in terms of gesture or pose, would probably be, I don't know. I feel like it would be something, and this is where the acting comes into play. And again, maybe the story said, no, this person is supposed to look like this, which is fine, I think. But I'm guessing that it's not. I'm thinking that usually it's like one knee forward, one leg straight, if that makes sense. Okay. It kind of lengthens the leg. It's if you notice, a lot of women on the like at premieres and photo shoots and stuff, it's a very typical pose. You'll see like one leg that's cocked at the knee and the other leg straight, and it kind of breaks that line and makes them look a little taller, I think. Okay. DJ Mittens, thanks for the affirmation. Yes, that's how we stand. And it's not that they're not confident. It's just, if you're wearing a dress that's that tight, I don't know. It seemed like a very jockish pose, I guess. But again, that's up to you, right? And then the heels there. And so you can have her still looking up a little bit. And then the other thing is she's reaching forward and grabbing Bruce Wayne's shoulder. Like, that's a very bro kind of move, like hand on the shoulder. It's a paternal thing. It's like a guy. That's a safe spot for a guy to touch a guy, if I could be completely frank, right? Like a lot of guys, like that's what they'll do. For women that are flirting, they might touch more of the forearm or kind of gently reach behind the tricep or on. I feel like the shoulder is not the move where she would go. Like it would be like here, right? So, So there are a number of ways to go. And then maybe she has a drink here. So I would just encourage you to look around, and it's not just about the composition or the perspective, but it's about creating something that feels or mirrors how real people kind of pose, and what you get out of that, right? So let me see what happens if I do some of these changes here. Okay. Crispy egg roll. No one touches my forearms. Um, no one touches your forearms. Well, I don't think they would touch the. Yeah, maybe they touch the top. I've seen that move. I've seen the underside of the forearm. There's a whole like psychology of how people like touch each other and what's appropriate touching or inappropriate touching. You know, usually when you're having heart to heart, father to son or something, you put your hand on their shoulder. I don't know. So, and of course, their biases. Depends on. Well, I'm just going to generalize and say these are very, very general things. Please don't take anything political out of it. This is just I'm trying to go for things that we can all kind of relate to. Your own individual experiences might vary. So if you notice, I also use kind of black shapes here, like underneath that thigh, and to essentially foreshorten things, right? It's a quick way of foreshortening it because it's like this upper body, the hips basically are casting a shadow on that thigh, and it makes it feel more three-dimensional. Okay. All right. And then the gal that's over here, I think she's someone said, "Is she twerking?" And I think that was kind of meant as a joke, but I think the girl that's on they're all very kind of I don't know. The girl that's leaning back and downing her drink, she looks like she's ready to just get drunk. I mean, she's like bottoms up, like woohoo. So yeah, maybe they are having that kind of time, you know. But again, I think where this leg ends up, uh, this angle is really, that distance is really, she's about to fall over, right? So I would dial that back a little bit, and really the foot would be here somewhere. I would put her purse or wallet, whatever it is, in front of her, like, and then I don't know if I would go bottoms up. It's a wine glass. It's not a shot glass. I don't know. And maybe she's sipping it more demurely. I mean, you could still pop her neck back if you wanted to, but I'd have to read the script and the intent, right? But I think the idea is that, it's Bruce Wayne and he's a socialite and he's surrounded by the all the beautiful people, but this character looks like she's gonna go ride horses or something like that, which is fine, but it's unusual next to the ladies in the cocktail dresses, so I kind of wonder what's going on. I think she's basically doubled over with laughter. That's how I interpret it. So let's not worry about the wardrobe and think about the perspective. Again, I don't know. I think there's a number of ways to go with this. You could, that's not good. Okay. So the female form. And sometimes it's just good to do these kind of gestural drawings. They're almost like fashion drawing dressing. Like there's a lot that is said through the arms, the opening of the hands. All right, again, one knee forward. I think that there's a lot of like covering of the mouth, like, right, the hand over the mouth kind of thing. It's very kind of Japanese, but also Western. Like, but then again, the curvature of the spine, leg going forward at the thigh and then back here. Slight curvature there, the spine forward. You know, maybe this sloshes out a little bit, like she's covering her mouth and just kind of almost doubling over, but it's a subtle kind of curve up to the very, very top. This is her hair. So like her hands are out like she's telling a story. Okay. Now I know that, look, I think it's just a tough shot because you're doing these kind of these poses, but you're also doing them at a down shot. I pulled back a little bit. You know, it's more like that, the perspective. Okay. All right. A lot of it could be all right. So I'm doing it more kind of straight on. So you figure out what the straight on, but maybe she's had maybe a few more in the others. And so when her legs are kind of turning in at the knees, like she's got a pee, she's laughing so hard. And there's a sort of an inward sort of glide of the shoulders, right? All right. So I would practice this kind of stuff before you graduate and do the down shot personally, till you feel able to kind of express different things. If there's someone kind of doubled over with laughter, I feel like they would be doubling. They wouldn't be bending their knees like you put. It would be And as you can tell, I'm sort of exploring this and trying to understand it myself. I don't know if they would bend their knees. Right? And this is where life drawing is I think pretty critical, because you want to capture the subtleties that make this work. Right? She's like slapping her knees, you know. All right, and then you put Bruce Wayne here. And I think he did a good job, or she did a good job with the body language. He's got like one arm kind of in his pocket, and he's got the other arm sort of explaining. He was kind of pointing, I think, in the original. And to me, I don't know if the pointing seemed a little too pointed. You know, I feel like he would be holding whatever. It would be like the hand would be turned towards the body as he's telling the story. And to make it a little playful, maybe you even kind of cock his head a little to the side, like he's hit the punchline, and so he's kind of and be like, and that, ladies, is why they call it the crispy egg re-roll, right? And then go, ah, ha, ha, ha. Right. So now you get it, right? And that jacket would come up like this. Right? Right? There we go. Hey, if you're a billionaire, like, people laugh at anything you say. I've seen it. And that, oh, Bruce. You get the idea. And here's the perspective grid. Something like that. What was that? That's my phone. I'm watching the chat and it fell down. Efix, hey, I'm at a bar with my fiance. She's making some big eyes. Making me some big eyes. Like she's crazy. Like, what are you doing? You're watching the stream at a bar with your fiance? Ooh. I've seen that look before, dude. Save yourself. I'll always be here for you. All right, okay, so all right, let's close this out here. We'll go ahead and save that. I don't know why, but these are my okay. So now let's go back. So you know, everything else is cool. You know, the only other thing I'll say maybe is that you want to be careful with. You've got shadows underneath here, over here. And I feel like you're putting the shadows in places they should be, but maybe put them where you want them to be that best sort of maximizes your composition, right? You've got three elements here. You've got this guy in the foreground, Bruce in the middle ground, the ladies here, over here, right? Background. And maybe the black shape goes here, almost like it's so it frames kind of this, what's going on here. See what I'm saying? And then what you have here, this is just kind of where my abstract art instincts are telling me to place large black shapes. And it just kind of breaks up the length of that panel, having these kind of strong vertical elements. White, black, black. Okay? Oh, is this not showing up on the screen? All right, let me so you can see. Hey, thank you, DJ Mittens. I guess you like the the heel discussion. Thanks for the resub. 9 months strong. Awesome. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the support. Yeah, how awesome would it be if they showed this art stream at a sports bar? Oh God. Okay, so let's close that out. Sure. All right, so this is page 2. Okay, KB Bradshaw. Okay. I don't know what show you're at, but have fun at the show. I see. I'm looking at the screen. Yeah, the bottom's cut off. I see. I can fix that in OBS. Hold on a second. Oh, yeah. There we go. There we go. Yeah, that looks good. All right, now we're getting to the fun stuff. You want to always, while you're drawing, think of the underlying structure underneath the veneer of the drawing that you're doing, underneath the muscles, underneath the shading, the rendering. And think of construction, and especially in a pose like the Black Panther here in panel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. A couple things I do. I'll continuously kind of, all right, if the, oh, sorry, I hit the wrong thing. Okay. I'm thinking of this line a lot, the center line. And then see how it kind of juts out like that? It really comes out far. I think that center line has to run like this. Okay? And so that neck is like that. Okay? If the neck is like that, here's the center point. Here's one collarbone, here's the other. From those collarbones, you're going to have lines that come down and form the chest. Right? The shoulders come out of those sockets. So it's not too far off, but it's enough where I would move this arm. Now, if you want that arm forward, because like it's forward of the torso, that's fine. You just move it forward. But then that pec muscle has to come out of that armpit, right? So there are a number of things that are falling apart, I think, for me structurally, because you have each muscle is drawn well, and compared to the next adjacent thing, more or less in the right spot, but in the larger scheme of where everything is in relationship to each other, there are things out of perspective to one another, right? So that's something you want to be careful of. And let me take a brief moment to pause here. Doomsday Clock number 1, thanks for the resub. KB Bradshaw, thanks for the cheer. For the words of wisdom, you are no doubt saying, okay, you'll be very disappointed when you hear the stream. Let's see. Samidian229 has subscribed using Prime. Giovanni Sanguili has cheered. Thank you so much for the generous cheer. Pity83 has cheered as well. Jim, I want to just say I love the Batman 50 cover. Amazing work you, Scott, and Alex did. It's beautiful. Thank you, Pity. I appreciate the compliment. T Diggity 813 has subscribed using Prime as well. And Spiky Summer has cheered as well. Thank you very much, Spiky Summer. That was actually at the start. Forgot to mention that. Lunatic and Vibinix they've subscribed. I think I did mention that. Okay. All right, let's get back to the stream here. Okay. And so I'm going to do something in RW Tribble has subscribed using Twitch Prime. Hey, how you doing? I'm going to use what I'm going to use Liquify to kind of move things around on this figure. Liquify is a funny tool in that it allows you to kind of mold drawings like clay. If you go too far, it'll break the forms, but if you do minor adjustments, it's actually kind of interesting what you can do with it. Okay. Yeah, one too many. There we go. Let's see what I can do here. Okay. This arm, his left arm is in forward of his torso, so that means I'm going to, and given where his head is looking toward Batman and kind of I feel like all this should be more in perspective to one another. Like all this is behind, right, the other parts of the body. I'm going to have to fix that later. Okay. And then look how wide his waist is in comparison. And I think that's kind of, he was like drawing the forward positioning, but then start drawing things in perspective, because look at how the center line and the abs are set up. So this hip, it has to like come in, it has to be in perspective, right? It has to be narrower. Right, the distance from the left hip to the right hip, it just has to come in. Now that thigh can kind of flare out, but okay. His left pec is going to be wider than his right pec, and so we're making that adjustment. Right? And then his head has to, the center line of his, where the chin meets the Adam's apple, it has to rest further forward to fall on that center line that comes out of, especially since he's turning his head, like the whole thing I think could be moved over. But the easier way of doing that actually is a cut and paste, but I'm just going to continue using that liquify and see where it gets me. Oh, can't see. Okay. Interesting. Why I can't see. Let me see what it looks like. 1 second, guys. Oh, I don't know. It looks like it. Oh, okay. You know why you can't see it? Is I'm doing liquify, and I think that's in a different window than the window you're seeing. Okay, it opened up a second window. All right. So it's technically paused because liquify comes in a different window. Yes, Tony Guerra art. So once I've finished, once I hit OK, you're gonna see the liquify results on the original. So yeah. I don't know how to deal with it right now. I'd have to go into OBS and create a separate window for just this, I think. I think that would be the solution. All right. But I'll show you right, I'm pretty much done with my changes, so let me pop them in. And you can see it, what I've been doing, which I thought you guys were seeing, but you'll see the changes because I'll do kind of a before and after. Hopefully it'll make sense to you guys. Okay. All right. Can you see that? So here's before. All right, so look at the center, look at the two pecs, right? See how they're the same, more or less the same size? So I move them, the right one, his right one is smaller, narrower than the left, right? I'm taking his his right shoulder that he knows is there, and I'm pulling it back in space. I'm pulling his head forward, right? And then if you look at the waist, his waist is really wide because he's drawing the waist that he knows exists, but he's forgetting to foreshorten and turn it in space. All right. But even here, I think there's stuff that I would want to change. Okay, so with the head, I actually think you could take that whole head here and move it more forward like that. Okay. The idea being that that line, this line has to line up with all this other stuff that's going on. All right. Make sure you draw through these kind of structural lines. They'll help you a lot. They'll help you out. They're invaluable in knowing where things should be. So this line here is critical. Okay. This shoulder and that shoulder are in perspective. It's like a dumbbell, or an old-fashioned dumbbell or barbell, right? And that's the center torso line. Okay. So this should go like that. Just like I did with that woman's thigh. See how long that shoulder muscle is? It's about the same length on the other side. Again, the artist knows intellectually that they're the same size shoulder, but one is in foreshortened in perspective to the other, so it's just not going to be as wide, right? So towards that end, what I would do is take this whole thing okay. Okay. He's not going to look as massive, but he doesn't need to because he's turning his upper body. Okay. All right. So that's why it's critical, I think, to draw these kinds of lines. This is from George Bridgman's book. That really kind of, right? There's the pelvis. There's the chest. Those are the shapes I use to construct, and then only after do I go ahead and cut in the pecs, put in the abs, stuff like that. Even with the arms, I will do the central construction and then later add on the tricep. Right. So it's just figure work. I respect the artist for attempting really challenging body constructions and angles. It's very commendable. I think it's the only way you get good at it is by trying. So again, right here, he's doing an upshot. And see you later, Superhero Swim Art. If you look at this upshot, oof, sorry. You're going to again want to construct the lines. It's very tricky. You're going to have to, you're drawing the underside, so don't worry about what you know is there, because you're going to want to draw the pecs. You're going to want to draw like the collarbone, but you can't see it because we're looking up. And so you have to think about, disassociate yourself from knowing what it is you're drawing and just draw, think of the shapes and draw the shapes, right? All right, so this is the underside of the ribs, the center line, the belt, and then draw off the page if you have to. Right? And then the shoulders are going to slope down because we're looking up. And if his hand is here, I feel like his hand will be more in this angle. Okay, now the center line goes up, but you have to remember it curves up and back. And then go for it. Draw the underside of the chin. Draw the nose. All right? Don't draw the face because you know the face is there. You're not drawing the face straight on. You got to like, it's weird. You're going to draw things that if you look at it too long, you go, that's not a face. But when you first look at it, it's going to look right. Okay? So, what do I mean by that? Let's do this. Hold on. Okay. The red line's a little faint. Add another layer of black. All right. Here's the nose. It's triangular. Sockets for the eyes. Upper lip, shadow of the lower lip, and the chin. You got to show that underside of the chin there. A little shadow for the cheekbone. The ears back over here. Ears over here on the other one. Very small forehead because again we're looking up, and then the ears are very small at the top. Right? And then the rest of this is in shadow because the light source is above us. You see that? Okay, I'm going to gray it all out a little bit, graying it out a little bit. All right. You have to push the angle a bit more. And it doesn't hurt to lean into shadows and shadow work because they will help you kind of navigate, right? It's like knowing that the bat symbol looks like this, straight on, but at an extreme angle, it's going to look like this. Extreme up angle. But you still draw it like that, right? Try to resist, right? Pec muscles will have a shape like this. And that slant of the shoulders is super critical. You should have a little bit of feeling of disorientation looking this sharply up, I think. The belt will be narrower because we're seeing it in perspective. You're going to see the underside of the pouches more. Okay. The bottom of the, you see less of the thumb at the top, right? And again, the cape's going to come at a steeper angle than you think because we're looking up. And then this, let's go to black. Right. See the big difference is in the shoulder here, here, and then the head, the foreshortening of the elements of the face. Right, and you can do the same thing with Black Panther here. Especially if they're looking at one another, they're challenging one another. His nose would be here, towards the edge. His chin would be here, jawline here. So you kind of have to go for it. You have to draw what you know, ignore what you know is the structure from looking at it straight on, and draw what would have to be there, which is the nose takes the lead, right? Okay, I did it with too large of a, I don't know, redo that. I need to make the nib a little bit smaller to get the finesse that I want here. So again, here's the jawline. Reposition my body here. There's a cheek there. Okay. And even where this and maybe, and because he's leaning out at him, this other shoulder, and you're not going to see much of the top part of that shoulder. So you're going to see more of the underside. The elbow would be kind of down towards us. All right. These pecs are not going to be very tall. The shoulder is going to come down. The shoulders on both of these are tapered down because we're looking up. Imagine looking at a building, a skyscraper from the ground. When you look up, the shoulders of that building get narrower as they go to the top, even if they go straight up and down when you look at it from a distance, right? Because it's going towards that vanishing point. So these shoulders are going towards a vanishing point above his head. And so you have to taper them, which moves everything else down. All right. Maybe this other leg comes forward, like as his left arm goes forward, his right knee would come forward. Right. All right, this will be mostly in shadow because we're looking underneath it. It's casting a shadow across the body if you want. That helps sell it. This forearm casts a shadow as well. Whatever the maybe that whole head casts a shadow too. Okay, and then you put like the necklace and those details after you've got it all figured out. And if there's a cape, all right, even this arm feels very thick to me, so I'm going to change that for now. All right, hopefully I did that all on screen. Okay, so I think I'm going to leave it there because I chose this sample primarily because I thought the art looked good, the rendering looked good, the storytelling was pretty solid, but the forms sometimes didn't seem in perspective to one another, meaning like the torso, the right shoulder compared to the left shoulder, the cylindrical elements of the body weren't necessarily all in perspective to one another. All right. So yeah, Kirihiko, you should fire up your stream. I want to thank all our mods. I'll do a different order this time. Ren Elephant, Crispy Egg Roll, Kirihiko, for being here only hours after we streamed last night. Okay? Help us settle the chat debate. Who wins between Batman and Black Panther? All right, you have to understand, I work for DC Comics, and it's Batman, always Batman. I don't care who you throw him up against. You put him up against the Hulk, the Thor. He'll figure out a way. His secret power is he never loses, or he always figures out the way to do it. If he can take down Superman, come on. Let's be real. All right? So let's thank these guys, and stick around, everyone. We're going to go raid our fellow mod, Kirihiko. Come on, Kira. Fire it up. Let's see it. I want to hear the mental checklist as you're drawing. Okay, I'm going to do this. I want you to talk out loud. I want you to verbalize what the next thing you're doing based on what you're drawing at that moment, the first thing that pops in your head as you're drawing, right? And I don't want that to be like topless reference photos of Nightwing. I want you to, you know, say the first thing that comes to your head as you're drawing. These are not incoming butt slaps. I'm tapping my hands against each other. What's wrong with you? Okay, so let's fire it up. I want you to draw hair and then go like, oh, what about that left ear? Okay, that's on my checklist. And as you're working on that left ear, like, oh, I should check to make sure it's in the right place compared to the right ear. Boom, that's the next thing on the checklist. Great. Oh, I meant to render this on the neck. In your head, you have an idea of what you want to do. So let's see it.